Right, homeowners need to listen to this actually, and people who are looking to buy a house for the first time. It could potentially be good news for them. Building Society, the Building Society nationwide, has warned that house prices could begin to fall as households struggle with spending power due to the rising cost of living.
Well, the firm said that although house prices have been increasing at double-digit rates so far, they're at risk of falling again.
Meanwhile, inflation grew to a 40-year high in the year to April, hitting 9% this week, officially as measured by the Consumer Prices Index.
Well, joining us now in the studio from the independent North London Estate Agency, owner and former residential chair of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors, Jeremy Leaf, is with us. Thank you very much.
Morning. Nice to see you.
I spent a bit of time last week with estate agents. Actually, they weren't saying this. They were saying, we think house prices are going to keep going up. And why do you think that might not be the case?
Well, actually, activity in the market at the moment is more determined by the shortage of stock than a softening in demand or a change in demand, which is being prompted by the cost of living crisis. So that's really what's driving house prices at the moment.
So essentially, supply is restricted and that keeps the price high.
It does. I think it's unlikely, at the moment, it's unlikely to see prices collapsing or correcting largely. I mean, stock is down by about 50% compared with about 2 years ago. It's inevitably going to have some impact.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of people just don't want to move. They just decided that the cost of moving is too great, or they can't find an alternative property. And don't forget, there's a lot of people who decided to move in lockdown who just couldn't do it. The competition was just so great. They decided to rent, and now they're coming back out again looking to buy.
So, but surely with interest rates going up, mortgages become more expensive. People find it harder to save for a deposit because their savings are eroded by those rising interest rates, by rising inflation. Surely it's going to be harder for people to buy a house. So demand is going to fall eventually.
Absolutely. I think there's this polarisation difference between those who have and those who have not, unfortunately. And those on the where affordability is more of an issue, those are the people who are going to be affected. And inevitably, because of the cost of living rises, those who haven't been able to save during lockdown, for instance, very much or enough, those are the ones that are going to be affected. And there will be some softening, but I can't really see a big change in prices at the moment.
So if I'm looking to sell now?
Yeah, you're going to get a good price. You may not get the best you would have got maybe last year when people were trying to take advantage of the stamp duty holiday and so on. But it's more about what you're going to do with the money. Are you going to invest in something else? Are you changing your lifestyle? Are you moving out of town and going for something different? It's the difference between the two which is crucial. And
what about the rental market, both from the point of view of tenants and landlords?
Yeah, well, it's interesting question, because what's happening in rentals is mirroring a lot of what's happening in sales. Shortage of stock, prices going up, affordability issues for those who are on the lowest incomes, unfortunately. And of course, higher rents mean it's harder to save for deposits for those intending to buy.
And of course, there are variations across the UK. Where would you say nationally other sort of high spots for, or where prices are actually rising slowest so someone could buy a house?
Well, actually in London, believe it or not, prices, according to recent surveys, London has been softening the most because, of course, it's very expensive to live in the capital because prices overall are very, very high. But the areas where people have been moving out of London, those are the ones which have been the hotspots, that's the southwest and so on, coastal areas where they can get more space, better value for money.
Has there been a bit of a clamour back into cities post-lockdown, particularly as employers are saying, we'd quite like you back in the office a bit more?
Very much so. I mean, I'm working in my office 7 days a week and I'm seeing people coming back, quite interestingly. I thought, we said goodbye to you and you've gone out of town. We didn't expect to see you again. You're going to change your lifestyle, whatever. But exactly, as people are moving back into their offices, maybe 2-3 days a week, not necessarily full-time, they want to find places to rent or buy again because their lifestyle has changed yet again.
So that means infrastructure projects like Crossrail, which opened this week, are going to push property prices up on the outskirts of London because people will need to get into the centre again.
Very much so. I think Crossrail we've seen that prices in some parts around the stations have gone up 50% more than places away from those, or higher than the average in that time. So Crossrail is going to be enormously important.
Yeah.
Jeremy, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate your time this morning.